You know, sometimes the most compelling stories aren't in a book or on a screen. Sometimes they're hidden in plain sight, pieced together from a stack of receipts, emails, and bank statements. Today, we're going to follow that paper trail to understand what happens when a tenancy goes wrong and what the law says about one of our most basic rights, the right to a home.
All right, so let's jump right in. But here's the thing. We're not going to start with some dry legal text. Nope. We're going to start with just one number, a single, startling number that honestly tells the story all by itself.
$7,251.94. I mean, that's a lot of money, right? It's the total that piled up over just a few months. But the big question is, what for? This number, right here, it's the central clue in this whole puzzle.
Okay, so take a look at this. The pattern here is pretty clear, isn't it? This isn't a vacation. It's a relentless, week after week, month after month series of hotel and extended stay bills. Quality Inn, in-town suites. This is a paper trail that paints a very clear picture of someone living in limbo, someone without a stable place to call home.
And then, bam, another piece of the puzzle. A receipt for a U-Haul truck dated December 30th. Now, you don't rent a U-Haul for a quick trip to the store, right? This signals a move, and given the timing and the hotel bills, it feels sudden, maybe even unplanned. So what on earth could have happened to lead to all this?
To really get what's going on, we have to go back in time a little, before all those hotel bills started stacking up. And our next clue? It comes in the form of an email from the landlord to the tenant. So this email lands on September 28th. The landlord is talking about some alleged damage, noise complaints, but it's the tone here that really stands out. And it ends with this very clear, very final warning. This type of activity has to be stopped immediately and will not be tolerated. Wow, I mean, that's a line in the sand if I've ever seen one.
Okay, let's connect the dots here. September 28th, the warning email. A little over a month later, November 6th, the first hotel bill shows up. And then by the end of December, there's that U-Haul truck. The timeline tells a pretty clear story. So here's the million-dollar question. Did the tenant just decide to leave? Or were they forced out? This is where we need to look at the law.
All right, so let's shift gears and talk about the law. Because in North Carolina, the rules for how a landlord can legally remove a tenant are incredibly specific. And I mean really specific. Anything outside that one process is a big problem.
The law explicitly forbids something called a self-help eviction. It's basically what it sounds like, a landlord deciding to, well, help themselves by taking matters into their own hands to get a tenant out. In North Carolina, that is a huge no-no. It's not just breaking a lease, it's considered a direct violation of state public policy.
So what does that actually mean? It means a landlord absolutely cannot do any of this stuff. They can't change the locks on you. They can't just shut off your water or your electricity. They can't pile your belongings on the lawn. It doesn't matter if you're behind on rent or if you've had noise complaints. These actions are completely off the table, period. So you might be wondering, if a landlord can't do any of that, then what can they do? What does a legal eviction in North Carolina actually look like?
Well, there is only one legal way. It's a formal court process called summary ejectment, and every single landlord has to follow it. No exceptions, no shortcuts.
And this process has steps for a reason, to make sure everything is done fairly. The landlord files a complaint, you both go to a hearing, and if the landlord wins, a judgment is issued. But wait, it's still not over. The tenant gets a 10-day window to appeal. And here's the absolute most important part, the final step. Only a sheriff with a specific court order called a writ of possession has the authority to actually lock you out of your home. Not the landlord, only the sheriff. So when you put them side by side, the difference is just stark. You've got the illegal way, which is one person just deciding to take action on a whim, versus the legal way, which involves the entire court system from start to finish. One violates a tenant's basic rights, the other protects them. It's really that simple.
Okay, so what happens if a tenant does get locked out illegally or is forced out? Are they just out of luck? Not at all. Let's circle back to our story and see what the law says they can do about it.
Hey, remember this number? The $7,251.94? Well, this is where it comes back in a huge way. In a lawsuit for illegal eviction, this isn't just a bunch of expenses. This is what the law calls actual damages. It's your evidence. And actual damages means pretty much everything you had to pay for because you were illegally kicked out. We're talking about all those hotel bills, renting a storage unit, maybe even paying more for gas to get to work. It's all the money you're out. And this is exactly why you have to save every single receipt. Document everything.
But here's something really important. The law gets that a home isn't just about money. It's about security, it's about your life. So the number one remedy isn't just getting your money back, it's getting your home back. The law in North Carolina is crystal clear. A tenant who's been illegally removed is entitled to get possession back, often through an emergency court order.
All right, so let's boil all this down. What are the key things you need to walk away with from all this? If you're a tenant, you really need to lock these points in.
So, to recap, self-help evictions, totally illegal. The only person who can legally lock you out is a sheriff with a court order. And if a landlord breaks that rule, you can sue them for all the money it cost you. Honestly, just knowing this stuff is your single biggest defense. It's the first and most powerful step you can take to protect yourself and your home.
So, I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. Imagine you came home tonight, put your key in the lock, and it didn't turn. Would you know, right in that moment, what your very next step should be? Because this isn't just some interesting legal trivia. Knowing your rights, well, it's literally the key to your front door.